Something that I think all creators have to face at one point or another is the question of, does anyone even care about what it is I'm creating? Why am I doing any of this at all? And where is my creative work even going? If you don't know me yet, hello, my name is Emma Van Grieken. I am a writer, poet, and a creative artist, currently working towards self-publishing my debut book this fall in 2024. I want to share one simple shift that is going to help you implement a deeper why into your life, and I'm going to give you 3 powerful reflections to actually integrate this theory. So before you move forward with all of the creative things that it is you want to do, you need to ask yourself why you would do any of them at all. For a lot of creators I have conversations with, and also something that I'm noticing in our culture, the driving force behind creativity seems to be this two-folded answer. And that answer is people want to feel relevant and they want to leave an impact. But you might actually want other people to recognize your work as valuable so that the impact it leaves on them creates a ripple effect and leaves an impact in your life. For a lot of people, they see their creative success and recognition as something that leads to more money, more freedom, more independence, and more of a legitimate identity as a creator. So what you really want to make sure that you're doing if you want to find creative success is making sure that you're not relying on the success of your creative projects for your self-worth. Figure out why it is that you are actually creating. To do this, I want you to imagine that when you complete your work, it's going to get locked away in a vault for 100 years. The reason that I ask you to imagine that your work outlives you and nobody sees it in that time is because this is actually the case for a lot of predominant authors and artists that we think of as household names. I'm a writer and a poet, so I'm going to use mostly writers and poets as my examples, but just know that these examples apply to any area of the arts. Emily Dickinson and Walter Whitman are 2 of the greatest poets. They're regarded as extremely impactful in the 19th century and beyond, and their work today is still considered magnificent. As a side note, apparently Emily Dickinson has even inspired a lot of Taylor Swift's work, which I didn't know until now, but it does completely support my point. Emily Dickinson herself only had a handful of poems published in her lifetime from 1830 to 1886, but is inspiring a pop star in 2024. Similarly, Walter Whitman is known as one of the most influential people in all of American literature. He writes poetry and essays on the transcendental nature of being alive. He's even referred to as the father of free verse. So this guy obviously has an impact, same as Emily Dickinson. But Walter Whitman's work Leaves of Grass was his collection of poetry which he began writing in 1850 and revised until he died in 1892. Sylvia Plath is another writer who you've probably heard of whose work got published after she died. Vincent van Gogh is another name of an artist who is so easily recognized even if you're not a part of the painting community. There were only a handful of his arts that were seriously displayed in galleries, but now he has a whole gallery named after him in Amsterdam. Bruce Lee, who is a martial arts superstar, was popular in the East, but then the movie that made him popular in the West only came out after he died. And let's not forget to mention one of the most fantastic examples of this, Jane Austen. Jane Austen died with little recognition behind her name, but Pride and Prejudice still remains to this day one of my favorite movies. The version with Keira Knightley, obviously, not the 6-hour BBC version, which I still haven't seen to this day, and I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of commitment. So what does all of this mean? Like I said, I'm a writer and poet, and my debut work comes out this fall. Obviously, I would like to think that my work is going to become popular, and it's not going to be hidden away from the world for 100 years until I die. But I also recognize that my work might not be received by the world. It might not be something the world is ready for, and it might not be the cultural moment for it. But my work might outlive me. My work will outlive me, and that's what I think is really important, and that's where it comes back to your why. The value of my work, regardless of how it performs in the external world, remains the same because of my why. In particular, my why is I want to restore a forgotten sense of magic to a disconnected modern world. I think there is beauty that we just don't see. We overlook a lot of the simplicity that makes life absolutely wonderful. I very much think of myself as a transcendental writer in the same way as Walter Whitman. I write a lot about the human experience and about nature, And the book that I've put together isn't just a poetry book, it has 2 novelettes woven through it, which is an innovative piece of literature. I haven't seen anything like that before. And on one hand, that might mean that people have been waiting for that because it's a gap that needs to be filled. But on the other hand, it might mean that it doesn't fit into a niche or category, so people don't like it and don't know what to do with it, and it doesn't get well received. But these examples of writers and poets and artists perfectly illustrate my point. You can't base your why on external validation because you can't be creating as a means to an ends, otherwise you will not be creatively successful. Poets these days like Rupi Kaur and Whitney Hansen, Young Pablo and Atticus have graced the literary stages, and obviously we all like to think that when we share our artistic gifts with the world, we're gonna have this kind of success and recognition as well. That is what I want for you as an artist, and that is what I want for myself. Pop culture poets seem to have struck a social media node. They get a lot of traction behind them, they get a lot of attention, they can get book deals, they can get signings, they can get invited to events that have arts funding. Popularity does provide you with opportunity. It is a networking engagement to be popular. But the question really does remain, just because you're relevant in the pop cultural eye, are you contributing to the literary tradition of publication or poetry? Are you reshaping the arts? Are you contributing something meaningful to our collective culture? Again, this is why your why is extremely important. And it's really important that you're honest with yourself when you're actually figuring out what your why is, and you ask, am I doing this because I want to leave an impact? Or am I hoping that the impact my artwork generates gives me money and recognition? This is not to say that wanting money from your creative craft is bad. It's not. And like I said, I want that for you and I want that for myself. But what I mean by this is it's very easy to be working with a why that's centered around other people's expectations or judgment of you that's keeping you from actually being vulnerable and authentic in a way that creates from an honest why. So I'd like to leave you with these 3 questions to consider to go deeper into your creative why today. Firstly, why did you start creating? What was the initial spark that really set you off? Secondly, what has been the biggest shift when it comes to your creative craft? This could be an experience, a moment, or a realization that absolutely transformed how you do things. And finally, why do you continue to create today? See if there's a disconnection here between why you got started and why you continue creating now. Maybe you got started creating because you saw the world as a magical place and you wanted to share your perspective with people who needed that point of view, but now the reason you continue to create is because you want to make money from your art. If this is the case, maybe the reason that you feel disconnected, uninspired, and unmotivated from your creative path and your craft is because you're no longer creating from that authentic why. You're creating from this sense of external validation, using your art as a means to an ends, which is not healthy for your creative muse at all. Like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos like it, and follow me on all the platforms below to stay updated on everything that I'm coming to with my book. Finally, if you like this conversation, share it with somebody else to create a ripple effect in their life so that we can all continue to grow as conscious creators in the world. Other than that, I wish you the best of luck with your why and your creativity this week, and I will see you next time.